Hey, YouTube. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. And this is my friend Sketchcraft, Rob.
Pretentious little bitch Sketchcraft. No. Use the full title.
I don't want to say it, but we were all thinking it. And Chris
mm.
Freezy, who is the sexiest man in Star Wars, as we like to call him around here.
I don't know what's going on, man. Like, I can't get rid of it. I'm tripping out right now. But you want it on? I'll keep
Taco
it on.
Bear.
Yeah, he doesn't know why this happened, and I'm just like, please don't fix it. Just don't fix it.
Because the gods are bestowing this channel. That's why, Jason.
Right?
I don't even have a green screen. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
But I also want to throw out there, Chris is always one of the first people to get me links when anything happens. Like, the guy's has Google notifications going on in his brain, like telepathically. So he's now show programmer Chris. We're pretending like we're way more professional than we are. And
one of us looks like they should be in LA and the other two don't. Which one do you think, Jason?
I know I don't belong here. I think we need to.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. So today we have a couple of interviews that popped up from Empire Online. I was doing Santa's stream this morning because he was doing his community stream. And I was like, oh man, I want to hang out with everybody from the Santa community, there's so much overlap, and I wanted to see everybody. So I was doing that until like 10 minutes ago. So I haven't got to read the articles that Chris sent yet. So we're gonna read them together.
Quick shout out to Meg on Santa's stream today, folks.
Yeah. You guys are
spitting fire. Yes.
You guys are two peas in a pod. Doing that, Meg.
Quote of the day is, I guess that's why you're not called Santa's Beatles. Like,
yeah, yeah.
Couldn't help but laughing.
I know it when they said it. I was like, do I say anything? And then somebody else did. I was like, okay, good. I don't know when you go, when do you correct people? When do you don't? When do you become about things? But yeah, so there's this Kathleen Kennedy article that I know the internet loves her. Kathleen Kennedy says Star Wars storytelling is influenced by video games like Pac-Man. What are you talking about here, Kathy? By Ben Travis. With every year passing, the Star Wars galaxy grows bigger and bigger. The movies handing over to streaming series, animated shows, canonical novels, and comics and video games that all broaden the ongoing story of the galaxy far, far away. And with Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian blending elements of every era of the Star Wars saga together, the fresh stories digging into relatively unexplored areas of the timeline, like Obi-Wan Kenobi bridging the gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and Ahsoka exploring the aftermath of Rebels, the Star Wars tapestry continues to become more detailed. For Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy, the current narrative inspiration is the wider Star Wars universe comes from movies, but from gaming. Speaking to Empire, Kennedy spoke about the influence of video game narratives, blah, 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 blah. Is this all we really get in this thing? Is this really it? It's funny. The more I've got to know how games are written and what kind of persistent storytelling that goes on in a game environment, where you're just constantly building upon a single story, the much closer to what Star Wars is, she explained. And the influence also means more elements from hit games like Jedi Fallen Order crossing over to live action too. From the BD droid, I think it's like the lowest hanging fruit of all of that popped up in the Book of Boba Fett, to the Inquisitors, who also appeared in Rebels, playing a major role in Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's intention around bringing in elements from games, because there's a huge investment by people in Star Wars along the way. We have fun identifying who carries forward and what we reference and the history. You always want to feel that there's a history behind everything that's happened in Star Wars. So there's a lot of conversation that goes around that. And then during Star Wars Celebration, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order was officially confirmed, the title Jedi Survivor arriving in 2023 and bridging the return to protagonist Cal Kestis. So, yeah, not exactly like the most in-depth piece or anything like that. Just a short little brief read. But I do think that it brings up sort of a pretty interesting point, or a bigger point with Star Wars. Like when they do build like a AAA Star Wars game like Fallen Order, and they flesh out the environments and stuff like that. it is literally like staging a show. It is like creating the environment and the culture and the world and stuff that go into it. And like I think we're seeing that kind of with Nur right now in Kenobi, especially.
Yeah, I just wish they would borrow from the art direction, visual fidelity, lighting, texture work,
Yeah.
you know, like, and completeness, like, of the games as well, because you can't have a game like Jedi Fallen Order have a storyline with Boba where it kind of doesn't, it started before and then it doesn't really end, you know? So like, I get what she's saying, and I think there's a lot to borrow from games. And I think gaming storytelling is largely made fun of. You know, like anytime they got something to say negative, people go, "Looks like a game." I'm like that's what someone told me that about the new Avatar trailer. I'm like, all right, I would like to play this game. Can you bring it to me? You know, because I got Kirby and I got Horizon, and as much as Horizon Zero Dawn is the closest thing to Avatar in real time there is, it ain't the same thing, bro. Like it's just not, you know.
Right.
But that Jedi Savior trailer, if Kenobi series looked like that, bro, like I would be here going, I'd be forgiving a lot. I'm weak. I'm weak in the knees for amazing visuals and music, you know? And the
Sure.
one thing I loved about Fallen Order that hadn't been done very well in a long time was creating like the sense of going to an actual planet in Star Wars versus a map. You know, like even on the Force Unleashed games, I felt like this is a linear mapish kind of Nathan Drake style Uncharted level where you're going straight forward down a corridor. But on Fallen Order, man, I really did feel like I was playing part of like an interactive movie, you know?
The
So I think
environment
they
was
executed that.
brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, the train sequence in the beginning too, even like the smaller stuff where those are corridor based things felt natural, you know, like in part of the like that junk planet with the scale of it. Like it knows how to pull in and it knows how to pull back. I think Fallen Order so far to me has done the best job of blending the OT feel and even some of the camera shots and close-ups with that scale of the prequels, you know? Like I think so I do think there's a lot to learn there.
Right.
I just wish it wouldn't stop at the storytelling, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I feel like visually right now, Star Wars, digitally, because remember when we got to the sequel trilogy era stuff, there was all of this emphasis on making everything seem like it was practical, right? And so they were paying for that, and they were going, but now they've really gone back to digital, and people are starting to have the same arguments they had during the prequel era about visuals, especially to some extent. And so I'm kind of like, you know, if history repeats itself, we are so in the Attack of the Clones era right now on the Star Wars TV show between Boba and Kenobi. Like they look like Attack of the Clones in certain ways. Even there's some of that, like the flatness
the
and
worst
things
of them do, the best of them don't. I don't think anything about Boba Fett episode 6 or that train sequence looks like Attack of the Clones. And matter of fact, the visual
I'm
effects
speaking.
work
I'm
on
speaking
the Sarlacc
poetically.
pit sequence.
Poetically.
The visual, okay, but I'm just saying, like visual effects wise, like the look, because I mean, there's some visual effects in Kenobi, a lot of them where I'm like, ew, I ain't
bit rough.
but look at the visual effects work on the Sarlacc pit. Like that whole sequence might be kind of dumb narratively. We're like, all right, why are we doing this? But visually, I'm like, man, this shit does look good though, dude.
Yeah.
Like when the hook beak thing on the fucking canopy, that shit is really well done. Like super good. So, and the Rancor is flawless. The huts were flawless, visual effects wise. So like, yeah, there's just a lot of like ups and downs right now, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's like all over the map, I think, on their take and interest. But I do think collectively, Fallen Order has done the best job of like bringing them together. And visually, I'd say, and I'm with you on this, Jason, don't sleep on Battlefront 2's visuals, man. Like I was just watching someone do a fly through on Naboo with the N1 Starfighter the other day, right? And I was like, this fucking thing looks amazing. Like I never would have thought that would have been a visual coming out of like even Rogue Squadron 2, or you know what I mean, Rogue Leader, whatever that game was.
Right.
So like, it's just that if things are gonna look video gamey, go for the amazing video game. You know what I mean? Versus the cheap TV look. I don't care if it looks a little digital. If it's just amazing visuals, like the battle droid shit we saw in Unreal 5 the other day, man, which we should definitely bring up sometime. Like,
Yeah.
or even if it looked like Battlefront 2 or Fallen Order stuff, okay, fine. But like those assets, man, they just look so good. I don't care if like it has a fake look. If it's artistic,
if you have that video up and you can throw it on, go ahead.
I'll grab
want
it.
to.
Just give me a second here. Yeah, you guys talk. I've talked.
Rob, let me ask you this: do you at least enjoy the acting in Kenobi, or you just don't like the show at all?
I like Ewan's acting and Tala's acting.
Yeah,
And
Tala.
I think that little actress that playing Leia is really good. They're just giving her too much to do, like in a scene. Like there's only so much a kid staring there trying to contemplate can pull off. Like when they're 6 or 9, you know, when that girl's 12, she's a Goonie. You know what I mean? I think she's holding her own with them Goonies quite well. She's, you know, so it's just I like all their and Jimmy Smith's acting, man. He's like that uncle I wish I had, man. You know, like, I got Watto for an uncle. You know,
You know, it just occurred to me, Chris, that like we haven't hung out with you in a couple of days. We don't. What did you think of the last episode of Kenobi?
Like I said for episode 3, something's lacking. Like there's something lacking in the TV shows. And what really gets to me is the music, because when you have an amazing score or amazing music, it just really brings you into it. And for me, that's been lacking in the show. I've not enjoyed the music. And when you look at Mandalorian, when his theme comes on, you know, like shit's about to go down, like it just gets me hyped up. And I don't know, the music's just not doing it for me. But like Rob just mentioned, I'm loving the acting, but I'm not really enjoying where the story's going. Like we're 4 episodes in, and we've had to save Leia 2 times. Like it's not what I expected. But yeah, I still love the show. I still like, for me, it's miles ahead of Boba Fett, but it doesn't bring the same energy and excitement that Mandalorian brought for me.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, if you're gonna remake the beats from episode to A New Hope, right? Like, okay, Leia's captured. We're gonna go into an Imperial base and rescue her. In A New Hope, it's successful. They're successful. It would be interesting to see if this first run was not. You know what I mean? Like they were totally not successful at it. And maybe it was Vader's sheer anger that screwed something up, that they got lucky or something. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're gonna take a beat we've already seen, at least play the outcome differently or show how, you know, depending on where they learn from it or something. Just so it was a lot of the same beats, for good or for bad. I sent you the link in Twitter, Jason.
Is it just me, or is the music, is the score really not up to standard for a Star Wars?
No, it's not. No. Even Boba Fett's music was quite good. The Boba Fett theme, you know, it has a but it is cool, man. Like it's got some oomph to it. I don't know. Saying my jam.
All right, so this is all real time. A video called "We Tried Making the Battle of Naboo Opening in a Game Engine." I'm not going to play the audio, so that way hopefully it doesn't like get the video flagged or anything. Is it sure? Okay, yeah.
Right now it's playing Kate Bush running up a hill, like
right,
just like in the original Phantom Menace.
So is this all the redone stuff or the original stuff?
This is the redone stuff.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
how good it
Unreal
is.
5 in real time, bro. Like it's in engine.
Right.
Like, yeah, I get it. That's not real grass, but I'd accept that in a Kenobi show. You know what I mean? like I that's where I'm like, I don't care if I can see that. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is crazy. And these are fans, man. This isn't even like with high resolution, like actual scans and shit from.
Yeah. It's pretty.
That.
Yeah, it's really
remember
good.
that one close-up droid was a model, was the actual physical prop in the original film. That's the one that they're like fucking with the arm with, Steven and George, when they break it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I've got to admit, a few shots in episode 4 were very wonky looking for me. Very, very wonky looking. It did not live up to the Star Wars name.
Yeah.
And there's so many details on this. Like you can see, like, I know it's visual porn in a way, but like you can see the gold rims on their fucking like the little battle droid kneecaps like shimmer, you know, which you don't get in the original, you know, like, and it's stuff like that where I look at it, I'm like, even if I don't like the film, I'm like, this looks great. So I do think you could do a visual remaster of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and sucker me into buying it again. Like, you know, and that does go to a point, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the prequels, because there is at least a cohesive story across the 3 films being told. A visual redo is worth sitting through again. You know, even if I don't agree with what's happening and I'm like, oh, great, she loves a guy who just murdered kids, but whatever. Who cares? Like the minute that if that engine could redo that whole like battle, the clones attacking and shit, and like you can fix like because there's weird compositional issues in Attack of the Clones when they're like in the Geonosis Palace and like all the Jedi are in the background fighting. It's just kind of like weird. Yeah. But with that engine, man, if you could like fix that, so good, man. I want to see the pod racing in Unreal 5, man.
One thing I wanted to bring up too, we won't go into the article itself, but I think Collider has this article, and it's Taika Waititi, and he says that if they're hoping to bring Our Flag Means Death season 2 by October, so that's another thing you could add in the Taika wheelhouse of shit to do that ain't Star Wars. And so, as Chris said, he doesn't think it's happening. He doesn't see Star Wars in 2023 with all of this other stuff on the table, unless Taika's really like a production company machine at the end of the day, and he has all of these people that are part of the Taika brand, and we don't realize it. It's seeming very impossible for one person to do all of these things without a bunch of cocaine. Like a bunch, like a lot. Mm-hmm. And so he may end up getting busted and having to go to rehab before he could make Star Wars as well. With the amount of cocaine that's going to be needed to finish this many projects.
Someone say rehab.
Oh no.
I love that song. It's the best. What?
DF Jr.
No, it's okay if Taika can't make the movie, Robert Rodriguez will come in and make it. Get that done by Christmas.
Fair enough.
What?
Yeah, little Tyke.
What?
Little Tyke.
You know what, man? I know the next cartoon I'm making.
Little Tyke. I'm little Tyke. I'm little Tyke. I'm gonna make out with 2 chicks and not make Star Wars in 2023. Promise. Bye. All right.
I'm totally fucking jealous right now, Jason. I did not get this treatment on the original 6 films.
Yeah. Marsha, actually, that library that you're in right now, Marsha kind of pinged somebody else in there and kind of ended your life for a time, unfortunately, dude.
That's what I'm smelling right now. You could tell I'm kind of smelling. It don't smell like us in here. You know what I'm saying, right. Jason? Yeah.
It don't smell like George in here. Oh no.
So stupid.
It's so dumb.
Oh,
hey, how's it going, Penny? Good. Here comes Mickey.
Check so dumb off the Rob bingo card.
But yeah, I really, it doesn't seem like the 2023 thing is going to happen. Maybe if she was misspeaking, she meant it would start filming in 2023. So maybe like late 2023, they'll start filming Taika's movie, and we'll see it in 2025, 2024.
It ain't coming out by Christmas. I've been there since day one with that. The minute Paramount said they want to put that JJ Star Trek movie right there, I was like, there's no Star Wars movie coming out. That's it.
Yeah.
Because those studios negotiate those spots, and they can say whatever they want to say now because they're not ready to announce what they're gonna do. So they're not gonna want to field that stuff. They blatantly, it's like when they it's okay if they lie. They're not politicians. They're fucking, it's a company. But like, what are you supposed to do? We're not ready to have this conversation now. So we know late 23. And then they can go, we meant quarter of 2023, which puts it spring of 2024 if you really want to keep getting technical. You know? So like,
right.
It's not happening.
Santa says, Rob, thanks for supporting my channel early. I truly appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for having Jason and Megan and people with weird ass technical issues and funny voices.
Right? It was
a fun show
cool.
today. It was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. Everyone was great.
Yeah. I like right now, I do think if a Star Wars movie dropped out of the sky and it was very efficient and good, no, I think it would
I'm
work.
just imagining that, like,
Yeah,
you know, like you look up, you know,
There
on
it
a
is.
giant reel of film. I'm being literal, like, whoa, but it's
On
Ryan
sp- on
Johnson's
spooling.
trilogy. And
Oh,
then all
no.
a million fans scream out in terror, right? No!
I wouldn't want that or anything.
The last time I watch a Jedi, I swear. Like,
Yeah. No, but I think it if a movie did come out and it was like super well made, people would start to contextualize these better as television shows, and I think that we would be a bit more forgiving. I'm not saying we should be or we shouldn't be or apologizing for its shortcomings, but I do think that it like a lot of us have lost perspective that it is ultimately, either way you cut it, a television show, and the returns expected are that of a television show, not of a
you
of
have
a
not
feature
watched
film.
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds? Was that like a Stranger
you
Things
have not.
mashup?
No, it isn't. It's Star Trek. And, you know, sorry, Jason. Like, after Strange New Worlds, I'm like, yeah, they're gonna have to try harder.
It's good.
It's great. Yeah, and visual effects wise, it's better than the movies. So sets are amazing.
Bespin Bulletin doesn't have Paramount Plus in his part of the world yet, and he's waiting, and he wants to see like all the South Park movies, and he and I were talking about South Park, and he keeps like, "Did you watch it yet? The new one?" I'm like, "No, I need to resubscribe. I'll go do it." And I signed in. Oh, it turns out I've been subscribed the whole time, just paying for it for months. Didn't really realize it because it's $5. Because it's $5. You know?
I got it when COVID hit and they announced all the movies were going to Paramount Plus. I wanted to see SpongeBob on the Run. That was my big movie that year. Look, hey man, I love a fun visual.
Sure.
And
right.
And I was like, all right, I'll pay for this. $70. Wanted to see SpongeBob and Top Gun that year, so I put the two together. I'm like, that's what I would spend at the theaters. Fine. So Top Gun never comes out. SpongeBob came out. It was fantastic, but I didn't watch anything else. So I was digging for something to watch, and then my subscribership ran out, right? And I get hit, like, it was like 2 months ago. I get hit for $100. I'm like, what is this shit? And I go on I immediately get a hold of Paramount. Hey man, I thought I canceled this, and they're like, yeah, we can't refund you. You know, we'll cancel your accounts. And I'm like, I hate you. I'll never watch anything. And then here I'm watching Strange New Worlds, going, oh, they got me. Like,
yeah,
guess I'm paying them again. You know.
Last night before bed, I watched all of Kenobi together, like all 4 episodes. I had a great time. It felt way better all in one go, and I think people who are watching it all at once are probably gonna have a better time than the week to weekers overall on the show. And but afterwards, I was like, I can't watch. I need a Star Wars break right now. I want to watch something else, and maybe not fair to it, but I tried to watch the Halo show, and I was about halfway through it, and I was like, fucking Star Wars is doing it right. I couldn't.
Halo's not good, but the Halo thing is one of those things. For the longest time, I've been hearing them talk, and it's like every time someone gets behind it, it's either Steven Spielberg trying to build a studio again for the second time. If you've ever read the DreamWorks book, They Would Be Kings or whatever, you can see how like that's never happening because it costs too much money. And then when the new crew came on, they were like, we're doing our own thing. We're not watching the games. Or I'm like, all right, you know, like then I get that. I'm not saying you have to, but after seeing the ring planet on Boba Fett episode 6, I'm like, you ain't putting that ring planet in every episode. You're gonna hear it, you know, because Halo has a fantastic score and an environment. And when you remove that score and that environment from Halo, man in a Marine suit ain't gonna cut it. You know,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. I was just bored. Honestly, it just wasn't for me. So I probably won't finish it. But
it should have been more like Black Hawk Down. I know people say you got to be. You said it today too. People are pretty dumb if they talk about what they should have got. And I'm like, yeah.
I don't mean they're dumb. I mean it's just
dumb.
not. It's not a valid criticism. You need to critique what they did, not what else they could have done the whole time.
Right. But there's something to learn in the movie Black Hawk Down, where you can just have a group of cats like Halo be stranded in an environment and have to get back to base. And you can make a good series out of that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I just think there's an axiom in writing where they say complex world, simple story, simple world, complex story. So the world of crime in New York is a simple world. It's a world we know. So you have complex, interchangeable characters and relationships, and you need that to go on. If you have a complex world, like a science fiction world, you generally, axiom is simplified a story, because doing a complex science fiction world with a complex story is so hard to pull off. Very few people ever do it, and most people don't. Even Stanley Kubrick could barely pull that one off. You know, like Blade Runner didn't make a lot of money. You know,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
So a simple story would have been, it's a war story. Just pick a simple war scenario, give us these amazing visuals. And with the music, probably would have done it. But whatever.
Ooh.
But
this just hit.
Oh, we already
Show
back at
programmer
this?
Chris send it to me. Yeah, we haven't actually had a proper D23 in quite a while. D23 Expo, the ultimate fan event.
It's been 2 years.
The biggest presentations at D23 Expo 2022. D23 Expo presented by Visa. Visa. If you like debt, you'll love Visa. Is only a few months away, and with it, the promises of exciting announcement, reveals, sneak peeks, and more for everything. Plus, Disney 100 will kick off at D23 Expo, celebrating 100 years of white slavery as the Walt Disney Company enters its second century. The festivities begin Friday, September 9th, with the Disney Legends Awards ceremony. So, by the way, I was at the last, or at the one where George Lucas got the award, and he's like, Max, thank you for the award. Actually, I've never worked for you. I was like, yeah, fuck him.
Fuck 'em.
The Walt Disney Studios, George, you're crazy. We'll showcase what's on the horizon from Walt Disney Animation Studios, Pixar, and Disney Live Action. All right, we got anything Star Wars in here? Okay, here we go. Saturday, September 10th. Filmmakers, celebrity talent, and surprise guests will join representatives from Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm, among others, on stage in Hall D23 at 10 a.m. to showcase the theatrical and Disney Plus titles. Going behind the scenes of those studios' highly anticipated films, specials, and series, attendees will see exclusive footage and be amongst the first to learn what else is in the works.
Interesting.
So there's a couple of potential things that could go on there. I mean, they're
not doing that at Comic-Con, is what you're saying.
No. D23 was biannual usually. I don't know if that's changed with COVID and stuff and everything, but it's been a biannual event. And over the last couple of years, everybody's pulled out. All of the studios have pulled out of Hall H from Comic-Con. Yeah. And so with this right here, though, I don't expect that if they're going to show or have very much to show, because there's no film being done. Like I went there to D23 one time and I saw like the elevator sequence from Winter Soldier. Badass. It was one of the coolest things I ever saw at D23. And they did a Star Wars Episode 9 preview, but they had a movie to like preview. So I'm wondering if they're going to film like Skeleton Crew over the summer and everything's going to leak out. Although the who's the cast and everything's going to be there, but then they won't really tell us until September. I'm curious if that's where we're at with this shit. But I would also expect some of the Celebration exclusive clips that were only supposed to be for the Celebration attendees could also be shown there too, which could be another reason why they didn't come out online yet. And so it could be a bust. Just throwing it out there. It might like be no shit. But also we are to the point now where we have like Ahsoka in production and we have Skeleton Crew in production and stuff like that. Like all of these things that were like that still feel like they're so far away. But they are to a point now where they're going to start greenlighting more stuff. And so there could be announcements of shows that we never heard about. And they could clarify what Taika's movie is.
Too. I don't think it'll be a bust like Disney Plus Day, because I remember the last D23, not 2019, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Look at like they announced a whole bunch of movies coming out. They announced Fantastic Four, Moon Knight, this, that. I do think we'll get a announcement regarding the movie. I do think we'll get told.
Well,
Yeah.
they're going to be in the middle of Andor at that time too, so they could make
Yes.
the official season 2 reveal or something too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, depending
They'll
on
probably
how
show the Mando
the hype
footage.
for that is.
Yeah, Mando
the Mando
footage.
footage.
But yeah, I do think they'll announce the movie.
They have an opportunity to softball themselves here, and the D23 audience, like the more general audience, will have no idea. They'll be like, "Wow," you know what I mean? So I think everyone with that should keep their expectations in check, unless somebody reputable such as Bespin
Sorry.
Bulletin comes out, for instance, to use my friend as an example of somebody who I trust. If he says they're going to be announcing something huge, or he says they're gonna announce, you know, Quentin Tarantino's Star Wars about a feet planet, for instance, then there you go. Like then take it seriously. But I would be careful of Disney Plus Day Part 2.
Oh yeah.
On this one personally.
Well, Disney Plus Day is
Boba
like the day
fetish.
before. I think it's September the 8th. So
Yeah.
D23 starts a day later. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And we'll get a lot of news, but yeah.
Yeah.
Expectations intact.
Anytime I think about an overhyped fan, I think about that clip from the MTV Music Awards when they were making fun of the Matrix sequels, and they had Andy Dick at a rave with like lights, and he says Morpheus, like he's coming out, like,
yeah,
that fucking Matrix rave. And the D23 crowds are very much like they fucking love their Disney, man. Like, if you've ever been to that cult like experience, man, like I think it's crazy. Like
I feel like David Lynch hearing George Lucas's pitch for Return of the Jedi when I go there. It gives me a fucking headache. Like literally. Like
wouldn't you love to have footage of that though? Just the face.
There is
David
nothing
Lynch.
that makes me angrier at the world than a fucking person in tears over like a live action Peter Pan or something like that. I just need to get the fuck out of there. Like, and it's torture.
The one I went to was the one where they showed the footage of Beauty and the Beast, right? And I was like, oh, they got the dude from Downton Abbey. Is it the guy who died? Spoilers. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, all right. Ooh, that don't look good. Like CGI on the Beast. And everyone was like, yeah! And I'm looking around like, am I fucking crazy here? Like, are we back in like the Polar Express with this? Like, this is, dude, there's some artistic CGI you can do. You know, we had just gotten like a bunch of Hellboy movies and fucking like, you know.
I saw the bad guy from Andor who was in what was that show? It was that serial killer, like putting together like the serial killer FBI agents together show. Mindhunter. Yeah, fucking brilliant show. Brilliant actor. And he comes out with his stuffed animal character from Frozen, and he starts like singing it like as it. And I just wanted to, I was like, you fucking killed Mindhunter for me, man. Bye. You know, everything's terrible. Everything sucks. Hey. Anyways, it's really I don't really think the D23s.
Come on. Nothing's killing your love. Like,
yeah. Well, I went to
actor can pee himself and you still love him, Jason. It's cool. Like,
yeah, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson.
But guys, I'm laughing because I'm just remembering in Life's Too Short his cameo and the look of seriousness when he's doing comedy, and like you making that piece and joke and him.
Yeah.
So good.
There was an article too from Empire that you could read about about Mandalorian 3. I was gonna pull it up, but really it's nothing.
It's not much.
It's Pedro Pascal going like, I'm going you know where the restroom is? It's over there. That's pretty much the article. I mean, they didn't give them anything. They're really not. I don't think they're treating Empire too well these days, to be honest with you guys.
Magazine.
I'm all for, you know, like go crazy with Vanity Fair as much as you want. Go crazy anywhere you want. But yeah, Empire deserves a little bit better. Empire deserves better pictures, and Empire, when they will allow them to, usually has better but good articles.
Like, if you're gonna go with the mainstream magazine in your Star Wars, it seems like hand in hand. Like it almost seems like they're tailoring the magazine for you. It's called Empire.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy that we get the amazing Leibowitz photography with Vanity Fair, but with Empire, when they do get something, it's like a Mountain Dew ad.
Yeah.
Well, that's the I have a friend who used to work at Empire, and so got some insight into like the Star Wars era back in the day about how things went. And it was like, well, you know, EW is huge. You know what I mean? They can't really compete with EW numbers. So EW would get like first pick. Like they would have a little archive of like, here's pictures you could put in the magazine. And then EW would pick, and then Empire would get to go after and pick what was left. And so sometimes it would actually be more brilliant because EW just didn't have the foresight to know like that Snoke thing is way more fascinating than anything else in this, or whatever happened to be. But for the most part, like they would kind of get second picks. And but this time I was hoping Empire was going to get really great picks because Vanity Fair has Annie Leibovitz, and essentially the EW coverage went over to Vanity Fair. And but yeah, so a little bit like little disappointed for them. Still a great.
She's got a good Masterclass too, by the way.
Yeah,
and Leibovitz. Yeah, she's on the Masterclass.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, on mummification?
If you guys rent, you can like rent. You know, you can subscribe for like a month or two to that. I highly recommend watching the James Cameron Masterclass because he takes scenes from the Terminator. No, I'm not even fucking joking. Like, if you want to have real insight into how they made Aliens or Terminator, to the point where my wife watches, she's like, "This is really fucking like she learned shit."
Is
like,
there a section on dating?
Masterclasses or not?
Because if there's a section on dating where he's like, "Do you have problems leaving relationships? I was married to Sarah Connor. I can tell you how to exit a relationship."
But he covered that in his Stern interview in 1997. So if you want to get him to talk about his marriage, I know I've watched every James Cameron interview there is, my friend. Yeah, right. So several fucking times. So
on the other hand, I've seen every Kirk Cameron interview. He's gone. He quit. He quit. He can't take it.
I keep Tech Noir, the James Cameron art book, right in front of me. See, Tech Noir. Right here, my friend, with his paintings from Avatar in the 70s. All right, in the 70s.
So smoking a lot of weed. I thought I should put this on the side of a van, or
it's got some cool Spider-Man. It's got some Spider-Man art he did in there too, by the way, when he was trying to pitch Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Anyway, but those master classes, like, they're largely dumb. But like the Cameron one's great. The Leibowitz one's really awesome.
I don't remember if it was you who took it or told me about it, but somebody I know took the Bob Iger one, and they're like, it was like, be born rich, just be cool, and everything magical will happen to you.
He goes, I don't look at my phone first thing in the day till like I get into work, and I'm like, because you're fucking the CEO, motherfucker, you know? Like this is not, you're so far removed from humanity.
You're on tracks right now, buddy. You might get some calls, but you're on rails. That's what I'm trying to say.
I enjoy the Campia show. I subscribe monthly, so I give him my $5.
That is a camping podcast, right?
Yeah,
a wilderness survival.
No, I'm kidding. He does commercials for Masterclass, and he's always like, Big Daddy Iger has a Masterclass, and I learned so much. I'm like, I'm not liking it for that, John. Like, there's literally a James Cameron one. Why don't you mention that shit? You know what I mean? Like stop mentioning CEOs like they're our fucking heroes. Like, no offense, you know?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, but anyways, though, I don't know. So with Star Wars, it's always a bit weird because a lot of the times, you know, like being in Star Wars is like being in a relationship. And when things are fine, you know, you say I love you and everything is good. But when things are fine, you're not really saying, hey, things are fine. Things are fine. Things are fine. It's not something that we do as humans. But when something's wrong, we can't shut the fuck up about it, right? And it's time to break up or fix it or whatever it happens to be. And so I'm never quite sure how to read the room with Star Wars upon the release of something. That's why I'll get called like a shill. Oh no!
Read the room, Jason. It's amazing. Capitalism is the best. I love Kenobi.
You're a card, Santa.
My wife won't let me sleep in bed with her.
Oh, come on, Santa. Don't say that. Don't.
Santa's in and out.
Actually,
quick.
No, don't say that.
You had a heartfelt ending to a show. I don't want to.
Yeah. What do you call it? But what I was going to say was, but when something's wrong, that's often what happens when people speak up. That's when people say, I'm mad about this or that or whatever, and they have something to like say. Like a lot of like fans tend to only know how to give a hot take, not a big love. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's hard. It's always hard to tell if you're hearing the disenfranchised part, because every time you do something, there's a part of the audience that's so large that will be disenfranchised every time. No, just do anything at all. So that said,
I've been a part of this though. Like I've been on. So like, I worked on a game called Spyro Reignited, which took the original PlayStation games and remastered them, and rebuilt models, the whole thing, and universally loved. And then we did Crash 4, and it was a mixed bag with some of the hardcore fans, and like that game, in my opinion, is amazing. But I could see when fans were looking for like maybe crazy zany, and they got a little bit more of the Spyro Disney feel. Like, like there was like, some of them were like, I don't know if this is my Spyro. I want a Spyro that's like a maniac. And I'm like, I agree, but it's still great Crash, So I just learned like the difference between when people are indifferent and they're like, whatever, that's kind of what you don't want. You don't like
yes.
Morbius fans aren't raging at Morbius. They're kind of laughing at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's make Morbin time jokes, but whatever, who cares? When you do have fans, when your base is largely engaged one way or the other, that means they still give a shit. So it's a good sign in that, your product isn't waning. Because it's hard when I bring up Star Trek. Star Trek's still around. What's going on with that? Like it's people are largely indifferent, and then they watch some of the newer stuff, and then they have opinions. But with Star Wars, you bring it up, everyone's got something to say about it, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like so, it's still relevant, and it's still enjoyed by even the people who may not be enjoying, like myself, like what we're seeing. Like this ain't my version.
Yeah,
whatever.
but from what I gather, a lot of people were enjoying Kenobi more than Boba Fett.
Yeah, I certainly am. Like I watched it like almost. I think I watched it 4 times now.
Yeah,
and I love it. When I would continue to watch Boba Fett, I would get very like, fuck no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I don't want to see it again. And they television shows, generally speaking, I don't watch over and over again. Yeah. So it's already a kind of maybe an unfair, weird way of looking at things. Like, I'm not going to watch Stranger Things season 4 or whatever again. And I'm like, cool.
Had a good time. One and done kind of guy, yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
But Boba Fett has episode 6, which gave me Terminator Star Wars. Literally Terminator Star Wars. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. That episode, that whole bit, that's probably me on my top 5 Star Wars moments of all time. Like so Boba Fett is one of those things where like I don't like any of it, but this elevates like that episode alone is like, this is probably my favorite Mando episode ever. This has
is Rob out of sync for you?
Love. Am I out of sync?
Yeah, you're like being dubbed for me on my screen.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's fine. Okay, good. If it's fine, cool.
All right,
doesn't matter. Yeah. It's funny.
You can add talking about James Cameron and Terminator to my your bingo code is gonna be long, folks. It's gonna be long. It's gonna be a long list. It's just Rob's gonna keep bringing a million fucking things up. So, but it's in Star Wars, so I can talk about it. Fair. So just like in episode 2, which is my second favorite Boba Fett episode, it has the Dances with Wolves bit that you complain about in Avatar. Well, bingo card. Anyway, but
I don't complain about it. I don't complain about it. I don't care about that.
For myself, though, there's nothing in Kenobi I feel I'll ever watch again. Unless you're like, we got to do it right. Yeah, and nothing. I'm not. There's nothing that I'm like, I don't need to see it. Yeah. That's just, I don't need to see any of this. So it's not an adventure I'm looking forward to going back on so far. So
But you were pretty
Yeah,
hyped for the show, weren't you? Though before it started, from what I
yeah,
remember.
yeah, I was. But it's where we're at. So
Hey, Hello Me says Rob is amazing. He just has some takes I do agree with, that I don't agree
or
with.
don't.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it has to be don't.
Yeah, I thought nobody agrees with Rob. No, I'm kidding.
No,
Yeah, no,
my
I'm
wife
and
is
I'm.
the biggest anti-Rob fan there is. Trust me.
That's good though. That's good because you need to know that sometimes your shit stinks a little bit. You know.
My buddy passed away last year. Put that one on bingo card. And when
Oh
I
no,
told him,
that's not.
one of the last things we talked about was like, I'm on a Star Wars podcast now. This is a guy who was 11 when Star Wars came out, right? The first movie. He goes, because he had that that transatlantic accent. He grew up very wealthy, went to private schools. He goes, "You on a Star Wars podcast?" It's like, all right, motherfucker, keep it up, buddy. I'll be on there at least a year till they throw me off.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, no one's DM'd me or anything, been like, gotta get rid of that Rob. Like nobody's been like crazy or anything like that. But no, it's true though. I do tend to, I pretty much like Star Wars more than anything that's not social or whatever. So as a media thing, you know what I'm saying? Like Star Wars is for me like the height of it. So whenever I watch something that's good, I just always go, I wish this was Star Wars. I love Boardwalk Empire. I wish this was Star Wars Boardwalk Empire. Every time so it's just like what I do all the time. I can't help myself. But so like the Kenobi thing, like I'm loving the story with where Obi-Wan was at and where he's getting to where he needs to be and like the interaction with Leia. And I'm loving the new characters that have come in. Like I don't actually hate any of them. Or anything like that. I mean, obviously, like the first throwaway character really has been Wade. You know what I mean? We're just like, Wade, you fucking card.
I sincerely thought that was the dude selling death sticks for like 1 second. And then I was like, is that the dude from Stranger Things season 4? Like, you'll know who I'm talking about when you see it. He's this blonde dude.
He's like, I was in a bar and I rethought my life. Now
he just has
something greater, and then he just dies. You're like,
yeah. I was like, wow, he told him to rethought his life, and he did. That would have been something, like as stupid a character as that is, like that would have been something if that character had rethought his life, and Kenobi could see how I did make one difference when I was a Jedi. I don't know, like there's just things that I'm like, I got a wish list of like things, but I understand why most people like it. I totally get it. It's purely like, Jason, I think you understand why a lot of people love why Guns N' Roses music and Thor is cool for people, right? But you don't like Guns N' Roses, right?
Yeah, I understand it though.
This aesthetic of Star Wars and this sort of like way of telling the story ain't my jam. I'm not saying it's bad Star Wars. I'm saying I can't do it.
Right. In a few months' time, we'll have your Andor.
Yeah, I hope so.
If I'm not giving anything a pass, if I literally don't care for the story in Andor and I'm like visually it's great, but the story's horrible, then like maybe I could switch it to another language and like read subtitles or something. like it's possible. Like I don't know.
Oh, and I wanted to say two things. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel and have the bell on so you guys know when we go live if it's a different time. Sometimes it will be. I appreciate it a lot. And thanks to everyone like Ducky, who's a Patreon supporter or a channel member. And I also learned this morning through Ducky that our Discord for channel members and for Patreon supporters, the link doesn't work anymore. So I will make sure to post a fresh link so that you guys can join the Discord again, because I guess they expire. I didn't know that about Discord, but it's apparently a thing. But the Discord's fun, and I like seeing you guys in there when you guys want to be. So I'll post that up today if you're a channel member for channel members and Patreon supporters.
If you're coming in wondering if Rob's in there, I don't engage often because it's a giant time sink, but I do daily peruse through and see what people are posting or saying. So.
Oh, yeah?
I love it.
Cool.
But I'm not typing my thoughts into Discord on a consistent basis. I just don't have the time for this.
Yeah. No worries at all. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to like hit on that we kind of brought up that Luke is sort of mentioning too a little bit earlier is like the music for Kenobi. And it like I keep saying like, and they were pretty upfront about it, that it's like we're starting with small instruments, small stuff, small little pieces of music, and by the time we get to the end, that's when we get the orchestra. Like right now, we're having sad piano moments and shit throughout it. We've had it, right? And that was their approach. I'm not saying it's working or it's gonna work, but I do think you can't make a verdict on the music until we get the 6th episode. If it does culminate in a big crescendo, then hey, cool. Like it, you know, you did something fascinating. But if it doesn't, then it just ends up being okay. We got just filler TV music. You know, that's not very notable, but yeah, not. I love that 15-second moment in the new Kenobi theme that Williams put, that I think is the meat of it, but everything past that right there just feels padded out to me. But also, I'm not a classical music listener, so you know, it's not really my jam anyway. Ducky Momo says a great game is better at telling a story than most TV shows and movies. Yeah, that I would agree with that. Like that's why
Especially over a
whenever
long period of time, Jason.
like
Those games are holding you for
RPGs,
40 to
yeah,
100 hours. You know,
you get
like
attached.
it's pretty impressive when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have 100 hours of Star Wars total. Like,
Yeah,
I don't even think you have 40 if you count it all up. Like, it might be quite. The cartoons might be where you get into it, but 100 hours, I don't
yeah.
know. Like,
Yeah, no,
certainly not
that's
live
why
action.
whenever like something like really amazing like Uncharted is jumping to the screen, I'm not running out to get. I'm like to me, it's sort of a, you know, I don't know. I don't think it's actually a better idea. I think
I don't
Uncharted
also don't
being.
like seeing.
Mhm.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I don't like seeing live action anime either. Like, I don't like live action Street Fighter. I don't want live action Full Metal Alchemist. I don't want live action Death Note. Like, they're mediums. Making a live action doesn't make it more legit. You know, if
Yeah,
anything, as you can see with Star Wars, with some of the assets from Fallen Order to Kenobi, live action can make it less in some ways. You know, like you can't,
sure.
like when you can, when you, like you were saying with Lego, right? Like your knowledge of how things connect now in the prequels, these sets are changes with the Lego Star Wars games. Like you really get a sense, what is around that corner, what goes around here, how did this work out, and they have to figure it all out, and then it has to make sense or they get killed, you know. They
Well,
get killed in the reviews, you know.
well,
Like,
like that's what happened with like Fallen Order. Fallen Order started putting maps in, and there's like continuity between Yavin in the main layout of Yavin and the Lego Star Wars game, which is kind of
nice,
wild when you think about it. And
nice, that's
but
excellent.
and whenever I watch, and then you have those rooms from the game, from the show or from the movies in them. So when you go to them, you kind of like you have a sense of where you're at now when you watch those movies, that was never there before,
I'm
which
gonna
is
pick up
really
the Lego
strange.
game when
Yeah.
there's a year edition. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think when there's like there's gonna be a year, because I think it did so well. There'll be a big year end thing, and I'll
Yeah,
get
they'll
it
make
then.
another one.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's just worth picking up and, you know, giving 10 minutes to trying to find something, you know, like I actually like the open world part of it and the exploration of it, and like the funny things that you encounter more than the 9 stories. Personally, I just
That's
enjoyed
what I'm
that part
looking
more,
forward
but
to.
that might just be like my play style in games or whatever. But and then wanted to hit on what Darren said. I'm really enjoying Kenobi, but I can see the poor writing at times, and I understand the rants and upset over the show. I just hope the last 2 episodes are a banger. What I don't appreciate are channels saying if you like Kenobi, you're a normie, not a hardcore Star Wars fan if you enjoy it. Yeah, that kind of shit is just like how can you know? I mean, I've been called a fake fan, and I could literally promise you that I have spent there's been weeks of my life that probably are more spent working Star Wars thinking about it and enjoying it than some people spent their entire life. You know what I mean? Like it's just a false, it's a straw man thing to throw at people and to throw at things. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. It's just hitting a dummy, you know. It's empty, you know, just like as is while I like to make fun of it, the shill comment. like that you're a shill if you like it, you know. Oh,
Someone
hey,
say shill. What's on the menu, boys?
Yeah, just shilling, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I
creepy.
was called a fake fan too for the first 10 years of my career, but then they all grew up. Now they love me. Just stick around, Jason. Just stick around and never leave, and they'll promote you.
You know, you think you're being Burt Reynolds with that hat, but you're not. You're not Burt Reynolds. You're not Smokey or the Bandit. Sorry, Dave.
I was gonna make it. Guess where I got Sally Field?
No, Dave.
It's inappropriate, Dave. It's inappropriate.
No, Dave. Yeah. Yeah. That kind of stuff is it's like, you know, I've known people, or I know people in the creative industry that I massively respect everything that they've done and what their opinions are, who like despise some of the shit that I really, really love. And I'm just like, I don't understand why, you know, we'll talk about it. And then I hear what they're saying. But it's just like, it has to do with like where people put those certain like values, like where the value moments are in those stories. And like me, it's I could take I don't know, like if we wanted to look at it like a video game, since video games are kind of what we started with today, if there was stat points and like Kenobi, let's say, has like 70 stat points in visuals, and I want it to be 100, but the story for me is going at like 95 right now. And so it's still working for me. There are elements to be critical of, but it's not broken for me. And and everybody has a different line for where something breaks for them and becomes like not worth it. Like I love Saint Vincent. She's probably my favorite living musician right now. And the last record that she did was really good. But yesterday I went to put it on and I'm like, you know what? I need a couple of years off from this. This one just doesn't hit me like the other ones do. Just isn't my, you know, it's not bad. It's just not entirely for me all the time, you know, and it happens. But you know, I wouldn't go on a St. Vincent board and start saying, if you like that last record, you're a fake St. Vincent fan. You don't know what you're talking about, you know. That's kind of ridiculous.
I got called a fake Metallica fan in 1997.
Okay.
Because we were at we went to
normal for then.
I was looking at the posters and I'm looking at it. I'm like, look, man, I love cartoony shit. You know I do. But there was like these little chibi Metallica dudes on the poster. You know I do. And I'm like, and I heard Unforgiven 2 is when that Unforgiven 2 came out. I'm like, they're parodying themselves at this point. This is where an artist starts to lean into their style too much. And you can hear it when the way he sings, the way Hetfield sings Unforgiven 2 versus the first one, which is like an actual ballad. And this is like Unforgiven 2. Like it's like a parody. And I was like, if they continue down this path, they're going to experience major failure. And I'm like, my friends, you don't know anything about music. I'm like, I know about artists parodying themselves. I know a thing or two about comic book artists, you know? And so the very next thing they did, man, was Say It Anger. And I mean, like, there's there's this show a YouTube channel I watch called Lost in Vegas where they react to metal, you know, different metal songs. They're really good, really insightful. They're really good. Okay. And the first time they heard of something from Say Anger, they were just like, they never heard this before. And they were like watching them like, and they're like, okay, in here for a second. Yeah. But what is this? Like, it's all disconnected, and they do a good job of not being hyperbolic. Like me, I'm super high. When I say, what is this? That's me doing I'm a Zim guy. So, you know, but, and look, I know you're not into Metallica, but you got to understand, like, for the fans that are coming for, like, if you're just like a person who's like, I just want to hear some great metal and some cool like riffs, and then you hear that, you're like, this is a person who's lost their way. They could come back. It took them 10 years, you know, almost to get there, but they got there. I know you don't like him, man, Jason. I know you.
No,
don't,
no, I don't mind.
Care.
No, it's not that. No, Metallica literally just like starts strong for me and goes straight down. You know,
yeah, I can't
kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
I can't say you can listen to Death Magnetic and tell me that that's a down. I just can't. I don't know what music.
Whiplash.
I don't know what music people are
Whiplash.
listening to. Okay,
I'm all about Whiplash.
Well, you can only be so angry when you're like 19 compared to when you're 40.
Yeah,
but they're pretty fucking good when they're in their 50s and 40s.
Still not angry. That's the amazing part. No.
I watched them live right before COVID. They still play amazing, dude. I wish.
Yeah, no, I
wish I was able to pull that off.
Dude. Of all of the bad art, bad music, and shit in the world, Metallica is the last thing I have a fucking problem with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't really, I don't like the new stuff very much, but it just is what it is. But also don't tell people they're fake Metallica fans if they do like it. Des says, I have a bias.
That's what it's fake. I got called fake as well. The whole point of that.
Well, you are a fake Metallica fan.
Whatever.
Because Whiplash is the only song. No, I'm kidding. Des says, I have a bias against Indira Varma. I can't separate her from her character in Game of Thrones and the worst acting ever. She's the weakest link of the show to me.
What?
Fake Rob. What? Fake
Still
Rob doesn't
over the
agree
show,
with
though.
you. This is fake Rob. So
Fake Rob
doesn't.
yeah.
I'm not even a good Rob. She's okay. Hold on.
Like this,
hold on. I gotta turn this back on. So like, okay, her acting in Game of Thrones is fucking phenomenal. What they do with her character is one dimensional. That's not what she wasn't making the role bad. They were just not giving her the depth that her character had in the books. And I've read those books. So like,
yeah.
And let's be honest, them fucking books started adding way too many characters come book 4. Like there's the dead Stark's mom's walking around like a zombie. There's a whole bunch of different religious dudes walking around. It's fucking weird. But her acting is phenomenal. You believe she loved her brother so much, she's getting fucking revenge. Her daughters could be a little questionable sometimes. Like Keystone copies,
yeah, Des, for me in the series right now, I think her acting is flawless. I haven't seen a flub or a moment where I feel like she's not in it and it's not convincing or anything like that. So in this one, but I will say for what it's worth, the Khaleesi, she's fucking terrible in that show a lot of times. Fucking smoking hot, but fucking sometimes she would just be like, I am the mother of dragons. And it was like really bad. It was really, sometimes she was really awful. But when I watch Star Wars, I don't go like, oh, remember that, I'm able to let it go personally. And
if they announced in September 10th, the Star Wars, The Path is what cause remember she says, they call it The Path. I'm like, is that a name drop? If they called it The Path, and it's this partisan Underground Railroad for Jedi series. And she's like, you find out how she was she's the lead character. You see her in the Empire and then turn and then kind of intertwine the Kenobi and then come out and like lead in. If we saw that, they announced that, I'd be going like, well, fucking sign Rob up for that shit. You know what I mean? I'll watch it. Even if this ain't my jam, she's super good,
Yeah.
Just learn from what possibly didn't work for half your audience on this one,
Right.
Like just learn her acting is so good, man.
Yeah, and yeah, that was like the to me in terms of Roken has been the character I've been the most excited to like see and that I've been the most interested in the whole time for the new cats. And but what do you call it? Yeah, like there are like things that like they're so weird because they like the flaw has the justification in it. So I can see why it still exists the way that it does. Like Roken, when he says, you shouldn't come here, which he's right. He shouldn't have come there. I can't help you. Fair enough. But basically saying, I'm not going to help you. And then all a second later, but then he remembers his wife and what happened. And it's like, I'm going to help you. And it's inferring, I'm going to help you out of the honor of my dead wife. And the fact that those guys fucking suck. And this is why I'm doing this. So this is still a part of why I'm doing it. So, and he's already in that system. He's already helping those people. So of course he is, but there was just something off about the execution somewhere that made it play a bit like, made it play like, okay. No.
Also, not one Kurosawa wipe. Not one Kurosawa
Nope.
wipe. The whole series. Not one. And Forward Until Dawn, I appreciate you, Shogun. I do. But it looks like fan film Starship Troopers. I'm sorry. A lot of close-ups, a lot of clean body armor. It's a product of its time.
Not grimy enough for you, Rob.
Sorry.
Will Morgan. Hey, Will.
Yeah, I think it needs some texture, bro. You're never clean in the army, bro. If you got a clean military, you got a corrupt military. So man.
Does he have to go, or did he just crash out?
I think he crashed out.
Mentioned something and then it went down. So with the disappointment of Obi-Wan, attention should be on the Bad Batch and Andor. Andor already looks like better production than Obi-Wan. Right.
But it's going to be out on September 10th. And they said announcing new things. So it'll... Like, I could see them doing a video on making season 2.
Yeah, because a BTS reel or something about, like, here's what we've been doing with it, though, from season 1 could happen. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really... For all we know, they have like 5 new things to announce that we just don't know about, and it will be a stellar, amazing thing. I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot of new cool shit coming. Didn't see that happening. Like that could be a thing. But also remember that one of those things will die, because one of those things always dies. One of those things never makes it. One of them is always the
it could be
out of shape kid who can't finish the mile.
I could do with Bad Batch just now. It's coming, folks. I'll be Rob. You're getting it. Whatever I say is irrelevant. Trust me.
Yeah,
they're making many, many more of these.
Yeah,
but for right now, I'm like, you could drop that shit right out the face of the planet and just do Tales of the Jedi. Like, it's the one time. You know me. I'm not the biggest like. There aren't a lot of great Jedi stories. It's just a lot of like that's why I like Visions, because they're not beholden to canon or like American sensibilities of like, oh, I'm a noble Jedi and now I'm not evil but good. Like, it's kind of one-dimensional so far. But with Tales of the Jedi, you might get the chance to do things that they just maybe aren't brave enough to do in live action right now. You know? And with Bad Batch, I'm like, is this premise, does this have more depth, or you just like suckered in because you know the era and you want more of it? You know, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In terms of like any new news on Star Wars games, I don't think there's anything like massive that's happened. I haven't heard anything on my end, and so I would imagine. Well, they probably wouldn't announce any gaming stuff at that D23 thing either. I don't think they would go to games there. Not that you're inferring that, hello me, but yeah. One
might hope the Summer Games Fest might have some stuff, but it's so early still. Everything's a year out. I just wish they would announce Super Star Wars, you know, as a regular thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, start making like that new Turtles game's coming out, Shredder's Revenge or whatever. I'm getting the whole thing, man. I can't wait, you know? Like, I would love a 4-player Super Star Wars style pixel game with all like the Mando environments, and take me through all the Clone Wars. I'll experience that story through Super Star Wars.
I mean, it would be rad if they made like a Turtles game with like Mando, and I could be like Gina Carano, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna get vaccinated, and I won't take any power ups. You got to do it. You cannot. Pick
no
power ups. Don't trust them.
That would be the greatest subtle shade ever.
Don't
like, she refuses the power ups and shit. Like...
Nope.
Yeah, and she refuses any like outfit changes or DLC changes and shit. Like...
Don't trust it. Yeah. Baymax says episode 5 is the Inquisitor raid on Jabim, right? Yes. Yeah, that is my understanding. Is that they end up back on Jabim, and then the Lola device brings hellfire down on the path. So I was trying to convey that on Santa Show today, is like, I don't want to overpromise the scale of the spoiler because I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I don't know if it's going to be.
Someone was saying in the comments too, Jason, they were just like, you totally got everything wrong with this episode. I'm like, what did he get wrong? Like, I'm
about
trying
what?
to what was it? I gotta dig it up. You know what? Before I generalize, I'll go grab the comment. How about that?
Okay.
Give me a second.
Yeah. BA fucked me over, stuck in an airport hotel overnight. Hell, Lamhead. Yeah, well, maybe they'll have a fun hotel bar. Just don't Just don't overdo it and miss your flight. But yeah, all you know what? I'm gonna say a lamb head hex. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Then the plane will crash and people will be like, "You did it, Satan! Great Satan!" Hey, Shadow, how's it going, Mr. Ostrich? I'm enjoying the series, but it does have a cheap feel to it. Too much of an Expanse Series 1 vibe in terms of how it looks visually. Something seems to feel off. That's fair. That is fair. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
You replied to it was Kenneth Elliott wrote, I didn't watch the YouTube show yet. That's always great when you comment before you watch it. But I was disappointed there was no Qui-Gon voice during last week's fight, which we all knew you said was the last thing you heard. And then we heard Kenobi was healed by a colony of Force users. Perhaps things got shuffled in the editing room. The colony, like that's the one I wanted to bring up was the healing thing, right?
Yeah.
I remember us having this is off the top of my head, but I remember us having a conversation where you're like, I don't think it's a back to tank. I think it might be a back to patch. Or initially I thought it was Force healers.
I had both. Right. I was hearing both. I was hearing that he goes into like a tank, and even like the coffin thing I said, the gurney. That was right. The Darth Vader style gurney thing he's put on. All of that stuff ended up being right. And then he goes into the tank, which he did. But I think that he still didn't finish healing either, for what it's worth. He has to finish healing before the fight.
When you said that, I was like, look, man, if that's another Back to Tank episode, they're going to hear it from the fans, bro.
Yeah.
Because I specifically remember saying that. Like, that just don't, I'm like, my goal is just don't hang on it. Get out of that scene as quick as you can.
Well, the thing that I keep seeing from the real casual spoiler readers are like, you said Qui-Gon was going to come and help him. I'm like, yeah, but it's the other fight. I always said there was two fights. The other fight.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You specifically have said you don't know how the fights go down, like because that's all like whatever they shot that day. Like, you know, like it's just funny, man. When I'm like, I'm sorry, who had O'Shea Jackson Jr. as like Rogan? Like, I'm just waiting. Who was mentioning politely. That shit?
Yeah, no, I did a tweet. The person was very polite, so this wasn't like a bad interaction. But I was like, I'm excited for Rogan tonight, and then somebody's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's going to be O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character." And then somebody's like, "That's not on IMDb. I don't think you got that one right." And I was like, "Actually, I'm the source of it." But yeah, no, at that, I think at this point, anybody thinks I don't have stuff right, like deep down in their heart, and that's what they're throwing at me. I can't get anything right. Like I just literally cannot get anything right if at this point anybody wants to know that.
If you
but I know Kenneth wasn't doing that. Kenneth was just like, hey, what gives?
Right. Yeah, he replied nicely.
Yeah.
But if you were consistently wrong, man, I'd be on here every day with you making up bullshit fucking rumors. It's way easier.
No, that's not what you do.
More fun to make.
That's
no, that's what we do.
You've been making fun of me the whole time.
You'd
be making fun of me the whole time. You would make $1.
I'd be clowning the fucking living shit out of you right here. You know, like
he lives in a cave, and a Jawa comes and sells him some toys. Okay, Jason. Yeah. Oh, she has a Polly Pocket droid named Lola.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason. Yeah.
So like the thing though that gets me about you were having this discussion earlier on Sandwich the other day about Roken. And there's this idea of like, well, in 40 seconds he changes his mind, and that's ridiculous. And I agree you can go with it or not go with it. You know, some people like Santa was like, oh, this happened in other movies. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of like believability of music, and there's other things that involve it, whether you believe in a scene or not. And they usually occur before and after. It's rarely the scene. I think the easy way to get around that is just you have them say no, but then those two sneak them off to the side and say, hey, you know, we can help you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then they're on their own. And then when they're stuck, Roken saves them. You know what I mean? He came back and like, I told you not to fucking go out there. You know what I mean? Like, but like now he's in it, you know? So there is a way to drag a person into a scenario, you know, like that just doesn't require like, the 30 second backstory why I'm supposed to care is just, we've seen this so much in the last 10 years of CW shows and like for real, like it's just been played Those CW shows, man, you cannot underestimate how tropish the DC CW shows have been for genre fan watching, you know?
Yeah.
And I enjoy, as dumb and as fun as they are, the first 3 seasons of Arrow are fun. The first 3 seasons of Flash are fun. After that, it's all just a scaling slide of ooh, you know, and they've played all those tropes into the ground. So it's not the same as when you're like, we'll let it. When they saw Star Wars in 77, they did the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but look at the context of what they were getting in cinema in 77. It was all this super like edgy it was edgelord before it was edgelord crime shit, super fucking depressing. It was done in contrast. Now we are getting inundated with waves and waves and waves of content, and when they rely on tropes on almost a daily, if not weekly basis, the content has to step up. You can no longer say, but we did it before. Yeah, but that was 40 years ago, man. Can pizza cost what it cost 40 years ago too? Can we do that?
Yeah.
You know,
well,
we got genre
I also,
inflation.
I also think that like you can literally cut this story in half. It's a united story. It's not like Book of Boba where it's just like, oh, and here's this other thing all of a sudden. It's like here's, you know, it's like a part 1 and a part 2 kind of thing. And with part 4 being the midpoint, obviously. And the first part, Kenobi's down. He's it's not necessarily the most fun thing. It's the you know, it's the 90s music of the Kenobi series part. You know what I'm saying? But when we get to the next half of it, it's him becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi again. And that and like I was personally like I was kind of surprised people weren't having more fun with him as he started to kind of get the mojo back in this last episode. I loved it. That stuff right there was super fun for me. And I was enjoying it. And I imagine it's only going to continue. And obviously, if you've been following the spoilers that I've released, you know what it culminates with. And so I think all of that, I think, is going to play where in the end, I'm curious if people prefer the second half of the series or not. You know what I mean?
Batman
Because
Begins reference. I get you,
well,
Rotunda. I get you. He's flying on rooftops with the tank.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to change it on you. I didn't really change it. Baymax says the thing I really noticed with Kenobi in episode 4 that isn't working for me is the handheld shaky cam. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi, not The Office or Modern Family. Bad choice for the classic legacy characters, in my own opinion. Okay, I'll
except
pay
that
attention
shaky
to that
cam.
more.
The shaky cam worked really well in the very first Padawan attack, the Order 66 sequence, where you then gear up behind the Jedi, and you're like one of the kids there, and these Jedi are protecting, they're being taken down. Like that's where that works. So you can do new style sequences of fights in the way that the Darth Maul Obi-Wan fight. I used to go to this. I was living in Germany in the army, and when that movie came out, and I would talk to this comic book shop owner in Frankfurt. It was called The Terminal, was the name of the comic shop, and he did not like the Phantom Menace. And I was like, "Why? What didn't you like?" And he goes, "It's too Hong Kong cinema, too Hong Kong cinema." You know, like he thought specifically the wushu stuff was out of character for Star Wars for him.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, but that was different. And I feel the reason why I don't like the 2 following fights in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith is there is nothing new there. It's just more of the same we've seen. You know, matter of fact, they pulled away from whatever the Maul fight was doing and did more swashbuckling. I'm on ropes, I'm swinging around, you know? So there you go. However, you know, like the way those things are constructed, there has to be a complete sequence. And right now it's just like they cut to shaky cam for the sake of doing a camera movement. Unless that camera movement is helping you understand or placing you in the narrative, like of the story, like if you're becoming part of it, then it's just a shaky cam movement. It's like a Michael Bay film where it's just doing shit because we did the technique. It's it's like style over substance is what they call that, right?
Yeah.
Like putting the lens flare over everything. For no
well,
reason.
like shaky cam has a place, like when there's, you know, explosions going off all around you and like you're following people through a battlefield or something like that. I'm cool with shaky cam and that kind of thing.
Right.
But you don't need it just because, oh man, this show's so candid. I get where he's coming from though, or what he's saying. And Fury
But to say it
Fury
doesn't
Tale.
belong in Star Wars is I don't agree with. It just depends on how you use it, you know.
Yeah, he says Game of Thrones was great, naked ladies and dragons, and there was probably some
Like
Dothraki dick in there too.
It's the animal. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
Shogun says, "Yeah, that's true. Forward had fan filmy FX quality, but I liked how they did Master Chief, kept him as mythic, and since he pops in and out, that solves the helmet controversy." Okay.
The helmet controversy is old Hollywood thinking. I just don't agree with it. I've never agreed with, well, we have to see their face because it's the actor. No, you don't. You know, the greatest cinematic villain of all time, or one of the characters, is fucking Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like, it's not true. It just depends on how you execute that acting. You can make it look dumb, like the end of the first Spider-Man movie or anytime, you know, he's in the mask doing this weird thing, right? Or it can look like when the Mando and when Mando, the armorer, and the Favreau dude are all talking in helmets, and none of it looks stupid. Like, it's just how you execute that. I think that's just old Hollywood thinking, that thing, man. You know, like you can't have. Look, we had the most Batman we've ever had in this last Batman movie. Him as Batman. But before that, it was always like, can barely show Batman because it'll look stupid. I mean, and I've been hearing that since '89. As much as I love the Burton movies, it was that theory that you got to be careful with Batman because you'll look dumb. So they spent all the time with the other characters, you know, and I just don't agree with it. So.
Yeah, well, I agree with that with Darth Vader. Thomas Shane says, I don't understand what the narrative that the writers of Kenobi have never seen Star Wars is about. Unless I'm missing something, I just don't see where people are coming to that conclusion. It's because one guy was like, oh, my take on this movie was this thing. So clearly they never saw that thing and had my take. Therefore, this is wrong. It's that fucking
the people
level.
Who made this literally. Oh, he said writing. Joby Harold's never seen Star Wars. You really think Joby Harold's never seen Star Wars?
No, never saw it. Never saw it because I saw this and that's how I know. That's basically
George Lucas saw a few Star Wars films and still conjured up the prequels. What's your excuse about that? I'm waiting.
Baymax says, at the end of the day, satisfied or not with the series, we still got to experience the who's inside Ned B hive mind car crash. I think that right there just exemplifies the whole idiocy of the whole thing about why I don't give a fuck what anybody from that side of things has to say about much of anything. Because it's just like really, like you saw that and then you were convinced that the narrative was implying there was a secret man in there. Like, that's fucking batshit.
You already got that story in the 9th Jedi, so stop thinking about it. It's because he moves with human legs, man. And they keep not looking at gonk droids. They're used to 3PO, you know, with the battle droids.
He's more Boston Dynamics. He's a lifter droid. They went more modern Boston Dynamics
Super gonk.
with them.
Here's what they should have done, man. They should have someone with an eye on set should have been like, pair him with the gonk droid. Because if you have him working right side by for a pair, don't tell me he sits somewhere in the fucking background. I don't want to hear about it. It's Lucas' explanation. But if his little buddy is a gonk and the gonk's got human legs and he's doing the human thing, then it equals. You know, he could pick it up and it could be like moving its stupid legs around and it sets.
How about this? A gonk centaur, huh? Double gonk with the man body on the front. I am Gonktar. Where need you go, gonk? That's what I say.
You're gonna appreciate those human legs when there's gonk porn.
Oh no! Spread it, gonk. Spread them for me, gonk.
What was the scene in Jedi when they're steaming his feet, right?
Yeah. and I will say, the thing steaming the feet doesn't even touch the feet when it steams. So I think they have seen Star Wars with some of the shots in this show. Thomas Shane says, I will say an overwhelming plus for me has been the portrayal of Darth Vader. He's exactly how I want him to be. I think using Vader in cameo or short stints is the best use of his character. And I am with you. Like I am truly with you. Like I do not believe like a Darth Vader movie works. I don't. I just don't think it's like, I don't think that there's enough there that you can change. Like you have to go from A to B. Like to do a Darth Vader story, we would have to have Darth Vader went to therapy. He's fucking good now. He's healthy. And how he becomes Darth Vader again. Like that's the only story you could do to get him from an A to Z kind of thing. Otherwise, it's just a day in the life of Darth Vader, and that's probably boring.
I don't think so. I think the way to do it, if I had to pitch this idea right now, man, if they say, okay, give me your fucking take, I'd say call it the Purge, where Vader, assembles the Inquisitors. They're hunting down different Jedi, but the different Jedi that he encounters maybe knew him as Anakin. And so if you wanted to you can do these sequences where he was younger, so you get the younger Hayden, and then you get the contrast. There is a way to do it, where he's the lead.
But so much of the meat of that kind of stuff with Darth Vader, I think is in this still, and people are still rejecting it. I think that's a bit hyperbolic. I mean, he's doing exactly. No. I'm saying like the Inquisitors and Darth Vader, what they're doing is literally what that's going to look like if Disney goes and does it. That's what it looks like. Like we can see it here. You could see the promise.
If you write
and
it in
failure.
a cartoon way, or if you write it in a way where you expect your entire audience, having already seen 7 seasons of a Clone Wars show, to know what the hell's going on, and you just briefly explain it in one scene where Kenobi says what they're doing, and that you said that. But that's Jason. I got people now who are like, who are they? How did he find them? How did he recruit them? Like,
but they should have paid attention to the first episode where it literally lays out exactly.
He just explained, just like I didn't pay enough attention to Attack of the Clones when Owen just says, "Guys, that makes us brothers." Like, that's not a convincing way to call someone a brother.
No, but you don't. Like, listen. I can firmly tell you, having watched all of Star Wars Rebels, you don't get any more out of the Inquisitors from having seen that before this.
Well, missed opportunity.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really add anything. I mean, like those are Jedi hunters, and I mean that's all that. That's why I'm saying that. That's why, I mean, if they were gonna do it, I'd be on board to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like if they were gonna do a Darth Vader thing, but the character work isn't there because it's all in the films. Like for that guy, like Kenobi has kind of been easy out because he dies. He becomes this ghost in the end, and so you could do more with him. But Darth Vader, all of the important stuff, there's not, like, Lucas truly with Anakin and Vader didn't leave a lot on the table to be played with the character himself. So he literally would enter frame and end the series, first frame to last frame of the series, the same fucking person. And like, to me, it just sounds like it doesn't work. So I know what you're saying though, like where you could have like story set in the past and make it like a flat, that kind of thing. But I don't know, man. I am pessimistic that people will go with more Darth Vader. I think like when they see more of what they know, like on Santa's show today, we were talking about, like, I think people are probably, if the show's just moderately functional, something like Skeleton Crew is probably going to perform better than anything with audiences, just like Mando did, because it has no expectations. People aren't saying what it should have been or what it's supposed to do. They're not saying, I came here to not see Reva. I came here to see this guy. Like, nobody's going to be doing that when it's like new cast of characters and shit. I think if anything, they should just stop playing with their old characters at this point. I just think it's not.
Look, I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you, and I will never disagree with that. But I was one of the ones who scoffed at the idea of having to read another Star Wars book, and then I read Lords of the Sith, and I'm telling you, you can do that as a series.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
and
okay. Yeah. I just
in a meaningful way,
Yeah, but like I think if you do anything like that, you always have to have a different character to move the progression onto. So like if you do anything with Darth Vader, you have to have Afra, you have to have Reva, you have to have somebody who changes. And also, like, in this era, Darth Vader, like, he shouldn't ever, I don't think he should ever be personally, I don't think he should be the focus of the story. I think he should be the villain who doesn't die. The villain who we thought we got him, but he's so fucking evil and robotic, and he just gets new arms the next day, and it just continues on like he's the Terminator leader of the bad guys. Like, if they want to do that with him, I'm cool with that. I would be okay with it. I know some people be like, I just see him keep getting loot losses, but it's like, well, they are ruling the galaxy still, so roll with it. If you like serialized storytelling, you kind of go with that. But But I do think, like I said, I'm curious to see what happens with Skeleton Crew. I'm also curious to see if Andor, if Cassian does he get any legacy issues? Like, does Cassian end up with, because he's a newer character, and his movie's a few years old now, but it's not super old. It's like 5 years old now, like, or 6 years old-ish. Do we end up with the situation where Cassian still gets that? Because if he does, then I'm just like, just do new things for the rest of your lives. Never do anything. Never do any callbacks. Just keep going. But
why you anticipate the Tales of the Jedi series?
I mean, in live action, in animation, people are way more forgiving and fun overall.
It's true.
People are more maniacs in animation though too, like where they're like flicking their bean to, like, fucking an animated character, and like that's cool, but it's super creepy. Thomas Shane says, I will say an overwhelming plus for me has been the betrayal of Darth. Oh, we already read that one. Sorry, Thomas, but we heard what you have to say.
Reading them twice, aren't you?
Will Morgan's poisoning us. I think
it's me. It's me. Yeah, it is funny.
Whoa, chat. What just happened? Yeah, we have a long chat today, so it's kind of like doing that reload.
Me, Jason. I'm a ghost now.
Oh no!
Thanks, Will. Thanks for killing me.
Now, when I get into a fight, you could give me pointers.
I decided to be edgelord Kenobi in a 90s video store is the place to do it.
Do you know how many bags of Lay's potato chips I had to eat to get Rob as this Force Ghost on the show? How many proofs of purchases it took? Baymax says the Inquisitors, bar Grand Inquisitor, and Rebels are stereotypical useless villain goons like the morons in Home Alone, a few steps up from regular troopers. It does sort of seem to be what they usually amount to. We'll say not trying to get get contrarian points here or anything like that. But I think the biggest mistake in Reva's character so far has been the opening with the Grand Inquisitor. I'm sorry, with the fifth brother. They say, Reva, don't, because I think he sucks. I think he's shit.
Look, it's not the actor. That whatever they're doing there, don't do that again.
Yeah, I don't know,
for your own, for everybody, whatever, the whole crew. Don't do this.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't even care what it is because it's so fucking fundamentally broken for me on that guy. Yeah. And he sucked in the cartoon too. So I'm not like, oh no, they ruined my favorite thing. It sucked then too. But anyways, so if I remove that moment, like obviously Reva's whole thing I think is fascinating, and I think it's a very, very weird criticism to be like, oh, she's all in the way and she's taking up all the story time. It's like she's a player in the story just as much as like Tala or anybody else, I don't know. It's like I don't see people going, Tala's getting in the way of Kenobi and Vader interaction. It's like I don't remember when Metallica did that, really, to go back to Metallica, that really embarrassing fucking like therapy movie. Was it some kind of monster or whatever?
Yeah, it was bad. They made Saint Anger. Yeah,
I don't want I don't want Star Wars Saint Anger with Obi-Wan and Vader just working it all out. I don't need it. I don't want it.
But we got to see Lars sell a painting for like $1 million. I mean, doesn't that make him more sympathetic?
Hey, you know what? Yeah, go easy on Napster, Lars. You made $1 million on the painting. Thomas said Darth Maul is an example to me. He was really cool because his screen time was limited. But they brought him a bunch of times in Rebels, and I felt I lost a little appeal to his character. Yeah,
look. You could say this about 1 million fucking Batman villains have been done poorly on screen until you do it right. So like, it's not the idea of the character or the look of the character. It's always down to the personal execution. My only gripe with Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace would be like he just shows up on the Tatooine with that fight. It's so weirdly cut, that edit, because they didn't do reshoots. They did it in the editing room. But like, then Qui-Gon goes to the temple and says, they're back. I saw him. I fought the motherfucker. They all watched. It's on the security cameras and they're like, we don't believe you. It's like, if he had not physically appeared, but they sensed the fucking problem. And then the first time we see him is the big reveal with the gates open. It's like, oh shit, motherfucker is here. like that, because that reveal's so good, man. I'm like, every time I say it, I'm like, this should be cheesy. Like when a dude who's covered in like red face paint and horns, who's looking like literally Satan, gets revealed by a door. There's a lot of dun dun dun. It shouldn't work, but all that works, man. Like they had gold there, and whatever they did on Clone Wars is just one of those things where it's like, if they treated it like, well, it's just pulp, then
let me say something about that. Like when a big difference though for me is when you have Maul in the Phantom Menace, this guy comes out, it's supposed to be this thing. Hey kid, I'll be done in just a minute. I mean, you'll go have some lunch. Okay, sound good?
Can we go to the park?
We can go to the park.
Yeah.
It's a deal. But anyways, with Maul, things happen to Maul. Things are happening to and for Maul when you first meet him in the film, and then he ends up in a completely different place. We meet him in a cave and he's a fucking like spider, and I'm like, what the hell? What is that? You know what I mean? Like that's wild. And so I'm intrigued. And then he ends up like getting kind of built again. He gets like his robot body built, and there's these witches, and they're putting him back together. And then he kind of gets his consciousness is sort of restored fully. And then he's like, no, man, I was supposed to do the Clone Wars, and I'm ambitious and I'm going for it still. Like all that stuff. Like I'm totally like, I'm into it. It's one of the best Star Wars stories of all time, I would even say. And, but when you get to Star Wars Rebels, things aren't happening to him anymore. He was a guy who would have bit your neck and pulled out, went for the jugular with his teeth if he could. And then when we get to there, he's like, oh, Space Aladdin, you are foiling me again with your goodness and your kind heart. And that's where, for that one, it starts to like fall apart. And for with like Maul, but I do still think that the point is taken, is that like you start to see characters in new lights based off of different stories that you see them in. And like with Darth Vader, he is better as a player who is in and out for me, but is still super important with big moments. Like that's what I say. Like Rogue One, I think was a very I have no gripes about his use in Rogue One, down from the part with Krennic, because it's a character building point for Krennic that tells us everything that we need to know about that man, and also gives us the Darth Vader thrill at the same time. I thought that was really smart, honestly. But
I would say
when it's shot bad, that's a different story.
The missed opportunity with Maul for me is there's a line in Revenge of the Sith I think is great, when Palpatine tells Anakin, there are things that the Sith do that the Jedi consider unnatural, and how he can keep people from dying. Well, if Palpatine, when they kill Maul in the first movie, if Maul's back in the second one because Palpatine's working his Sith magic and shit and fucking using it with robotics to keep his fucking little dude alive, and they're wondering how this motherfucker keeps coming back. And then there's the thing that there's many pathways, because that's what he does. And then, he trades out Maul for fucking Anakin, but then he uses that same shit to keep, then it would play into he's doing, I keep people alive, but it ain't the kind of alive you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You now become my fucking little minion. So you're not going to give me, I'm making you think you could use ways to save your family and keep them alive forever. But what I'm really saying is I'm going to keep you as my fucking RoboCop. You know what I mean? Forever and ever and ever until I use you up, like, and so it's just one of those ideas that it's there, but like there are ways to continue to build that up, like in more cinematic and I don't know, more meaningful ways. And so, whatever.
Yeah. That's what's hard with Vader, is that like kind of what Ducky is sort of getting at in one hand, is that he's both a tragedy and Satan at the same time. Like you could look at the character and you could see both of those things in the guy. Like you see what made him, why he's the way that he is. And then also, but then he is what he is, which is a fucking monster who's like dragging ladies by their face down the street because he is mad. And so you end up with a really irrational character. When you get down to it, he's a big, huge, big baby at the end of the day, like a dictator is, dictators and people of extreme power are all big babies inside. Well, Putin, Trump, all of them. Fuck them. But it does
Bob
go that
Paycheck.
way. Bob Paycheck. Yeah, fuck them all. But where I'm going with it is you just kind of like, you have a weird story to tell with these people if you want to keep doing it. So I kind of think that just making him the sort of one-dimensional bad guy and then letting us have glimpses into behind the curtain might be usually the best way to go for the average story. But Baymax
And
says
you know
no
me,
to-
I think the movie that they should be releasing a film in 2023, and it should be Mando season 3. You know what I mean? Like, should be this big epic film everyone's fucking way excited for, and they know they can make $2 billion on that son of a bitch. Like they should be high-fiving each other right now. And I don't know, man. I never feel.
Mhm.
I
have
feel
a hope. Go ahead. Go ahead. You take it.
Yeah, you do it.
You take it. You want to have dinner sometime?
No, you take it. No, you take it. It's all yours.
I see you looking at me in class. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go on.
I just want people to know I'm not an armchair quarterback. I watch UFC fights. I'm not telling them how to fucking fight or prepare for a match. I don't fucking know. I can, when I look at a match based on how many I've seen, go, I don't think this person's got their head in the game, and that's mostly based on, like, I've been in scenarios where I had to have my head in the game, so I understand that point. When it comes to planning out things, I'm like, someone has to give them the obvious fucking answer. Like, there's some real obvious answers here. And taking Mando to the big screen, after they were done with season 2 and they knew the next thing they were doing was Boba, you do Boba because the next Mando is on the big. It's just strange to me that they had to come up and someone had to say no, or I don't know.
Well,
like, it's weird.
A hope of mine is that that's actually what's happening, and it's just that story isn't what the movie would become. Like, if we do end up with a story with Mandalore being restored, we now have, when you get down to it, this thing in the galaxy that has the ability to literally give it order or like rip it apart. And there is a possibility that if they wanted to, take it to what happens when those guys come back up. And what if the Republic ends up fighting a united Mandalore for 5 years, or for something equivalent to the Clone Wars, which in the end actually makes it easier for the First Order. Like, this is Star Wars, so there should be wars all the time. There should no be fucking periods of peace. I don't want any of that bullshit. That's dumb in Star Wars usually, unless it's just to make the crescendo to war. And so I'm kind of curious if we might see something like that come about here, to like, really keep it going and make it interesting. And then, because what do you have to, once Mandalore's restored, and it does, from the things that we've heard, it does sound like if Katie Sackhoff's character has the Mythosaur armor, it sounds like she's Mandalore to me. I can't confirm who's Mandalore at the end of the series, but it sounds like she is, since she has the armor, based off of fighting the monster, it sounds like. And the prophecy that the armorer talked about in season 1 of Book of Boba Fett. So we end up with a kind of an interesting possibility that they won't necessarily be good in Din's case, how Din sees things, probably. And that could make for more interesting stuff about him down the road. And Grogu, like what will Din and Grogu go with once Mandalore's restored? What won't they go with, and what happens when they don't, and stuff like that. So, there's a chance that we could see something really, really cool in a movie, with scale and scope and stuff like that. And that's what they're doing.
The movie starts,
but there's no indications of that, so we're just brainstorming.
The problem is, if the movie starts a whole new story over again, then it's defeating the purpose of having a TV show where you can do a lot of the heavy expositional stuff over series of episodes. So you don't have to spend all that time in a movie doing that. You can do the things in a movie. You can really win at, which is, experience, experiencing the moment. Like I don't know, man. Like I just fear that it'll turn into the story starts in the movie and then it will continue into TV. And it's like, that's not the way to go. Like, don't.
Star Wars in Game says, like this video, even if you don't agree with Jason. Yeah. In fact, I mean, honestly, if everybody agreed with me, I think this would be a boring show. Like if we all agreed, like if we don't challenge each other, then it's just like, it's great. It's great. I've been on podcasts before where everybody's like, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that was cool. You know what was cool? When that cool thing happened, yeah, that was cool. And it's kind of like, so what cool thing you think will happen next? I don't know, but it might be cool. And you're just like, oh, this is enough.
Well, I mean, randomly it will happen, but when it is the show, that's just crazy. Like it's just everyone all the time collectively hates or likes something.
Yeah. Well, when it does, it gets to be a very special episode. So that's what's cool. In this case, anyways. Eric says Hulk Hogan in the 80s was the most important guy in WWF, and he was rarely on TV. Vader should be used the same way.
To bring that up to Jim Cornette, see how he feels about it.
But I'm still going to say Iron Sheik was the most important man on TV. Take that, jabroni. Yeah. So, anyways, I think we're going to call it a show. Penny wants to go have lunch and go to the park, and who am I to argue with that? Not me. So, but we'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Like the video, you savages. Subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. Become a channel member if you can, or a Patreon supporter if you can. I appreciate it. And I will post a new link to the Discord today for new members and all that kind of jazz. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And Rob, thanks for hanging out with me again, as always.
Sure. No problem.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.